Child abuse. We all know it happens, but we usually think it happens to children we don't know, or that abusers are strangers lurking in the dark. Well, think again. We may not think child abuse happens in our corner of the world for one very good reason. Most children don't tell anyone they are being abused. So why do the majority of children remain silent? Why don't they tell or ask for help?
One of the primary reasons that children don't disclose abuse is because they are told by their abusers that they have to keep it a secret. Be it sexual abuse, physical abuse, cyberbullying, neglect, whatever it might be, especially the younger kids. If they are told to keep a secret, oftentimes they'll try to oblige and, keep it to themselves. Don't tell anybody that this is going on. Another reason that kind of feeds into the whole keep it a secret reasoning has to do with threats. And those threats can consist of threats to themselves, threats to their parents or their siblings, other members of their family. A lot of times threats are made against pets, dogs, cats, anything that's close to the child. Threats can even consist of taking things away, like food, shelter, special privileges, if the child discloses. And believe it or not, people that abuse kids are pretty manipulative and will know how to get into a kid's soul, and those threats are often very effective, sadly enough. In the course of child abuse investigations, one of the things we try to do as we're conducting child forensic interviews is to make sure that we talk about their home life, their environment, how pets are treated, who takes care of those pets. Do you ever have reason to worry about your pet? That kind of thing. And a lot of times that question will open the door to learning a lot about what's happening at home and whether or not the child feels safe for them or for their pets. If they do have concern about safety for their pets, sometimes that's a good clue to the rest of us, to investigators, that we need to do a little more digging to find out what else is going on. Fear is another factor. And sometimes kids are just plain scared or they're intimidated by their abuser. Fear is very real, especially when it has to do with somebody who's your primary caretaker. Again, it's another reason why kids, weighing their options, may be afraid to try and tell anybody that they're being abused because they don't know what's going to happen to them. They don't know who's going to take care of me. If mom is my primary caretaker and mom gets mad, what's going to happen after I tell somebody that she hits me, or that she locks me in my room, or that she doesn't feed me for a few days, or that she takes my bed away, or that I don't have any covers? Whatever it might be, it's amazing the things that people do to kids. Love is a big driving factor as well. Again, 90% of children that are abused know, love, or trust the people that are abusing them. And that's a really powerful emotion. So kids will often know that the abuse is wrong, but not want to hurt somebody that they love. Let's say that stepdad is abusing, the stepson, and stepson knows that if he tells mom about the abuse, that mom will be crushed and mom will be hurt. So son keeps it quiet and doesn't say anything about stepdad abusing him. There's all kinds of scenarios. There's a Romeo-Juliet scenario where a younger child would fall in love with someone who is an adult, and they don't want to bust that adult and get that adult in trouble, so they don't say anything about it because they know it's wrong, or they've heard it's wrong, or whatever it might be, or they really believe that they're in love with the person. And maybe that older person's told them, hey, again, keep it a secret. Don't tell anybody. If you tell somebody, I'm going to get in trouble, and that's going to hurt the two of us. Oftentimes, abusers will tell kids, no one will believe you. This is a very common manipulation used by abusers, be it sexual predators, be it, people that are in positions of authority, whatever it might be. They may try to play the card of, hey, I've got all these friends, or I'm very famous, or, people in the community know me, and no one would believe a child. No one would believe you. You can scream it from the rooftops, but you are not credible. A lot of times kids will believe that, sadly. Perpetrators will also play the blame game and tell a child that it's all that child's fault that they're getting abused. It's that child's fault that this adult is being aroused and has to have sex with them. It's that child's fault that dad had to beat them with a belt because they dropped a plate. One thing that we tell kids as we talk with them about child abuse prevention training is that it's never their fault. It's up to us adults to keep our stuff together and not lash out, but to rather set an example of how we should behave and how we should handle situations. Kids often fear that if they are really at fault, that they're going to get in trouble for it. Again, a great manipulation by predators or by abusers. By blaming the kid, hey, you know what? If you say anything, you are going to be in trouble because you caused this. It's all your fault. Another reason that kids don't disclose abuse is because they've been groomed. Depending on the age and development of the child might not know it's wrong. A lot of predators will groom children at a very early age, and so that they can continue doing that without the child even thinking anything about it. The child just goes along with life and thinks that that's normal. That's how things should be. It's a pretty common practice among sexual predators. What they'll do is they'll kind of test the waters at first to see if they can get away with it, or if the child's going to say anything, or see how that child is going to react. And if the child doesn't say anything or is fearful or whatever, they may then progress to the next level and then the next level. And before you know it, they are, full-blown abusing that child. Sometimes, in order to deal with the stress or anxiety of a traumatic situation, kids will actually disassociate themselves. My understanding is that disassociation can actually be helpful to a victim at the time of the trauma because it helps them get through it and get past it. But it's not a healthy way for a survivor to deal with trauma over the long haul. I actually have a friend who was, as an adult, raped, and that person truly did the whole disassociation thing just to get through the attack. Victims, especially of sexual abuse, often feel a great amount of shame. They're embarrassed, they're shameful, they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't talk about this. In some way, it's a reflection of me when it isn't at all. But that is a huge driver for a lot of kids and adults and why they don't disclose abuse.
Statistics suggest that anywhere from 10 to 25% of all children are victims of some form of maltreatment. That's 1 in 10, or 1 in 4 kids who are victims of physical, sexual, or emotional abuse or neglect. So would you know? Would you really know if your child was a victim of abuse?
It's interesting when I talk with parents, most of them will tell me, oh, I would know if my child was being abused, or I would know that something was going on. And the fact of the matter is, you may know, but you may not. Not all kids talk about it right away. Disclosure is a process, not a one-time event. Talk with your kids early, talk with them often. Maintain an environment that enables them to come forward and share with you if they're ever scared or if someone makes them feel uncomfortable or icky. Have those open, honest conversations with your kids.